Hey guys, it's Spooksy back at it again with another video, and this time I'm going to talk about something a bit more serious this week. Many of you probably already know about the situation that's been going on with Blaire White in the last couple of weeks, but for those of you that don't, essentially, Blaire made a video talking about a trans athlete and had glaring misinformation that caused an innocent person to be attacked. The victim was Janae, a trans bodybuilder that exclusively plays against men. Blaire said this in her video.
What we don't often see is that Janae actually went back post-transition and competing against men. She's gone back and forth competing with men and women.
This was not true, and many people have covered her extensively on this. Blaire took weeks to take the video down and even longer to apologize. Links in the description to videos that give you a more in-depth analysis to what's going on by people who are far better equipped to tell it. This video may be a bit political, so that makes you uncomfortable. Here's your warning now. I have been a viewer of Blaire White almost since she came to YouTube. I used to be an avid follower of hers, and I readily believed all of her opinions regarding gender. I really respected how she would speak her mind despite knowing she would face backlash for it, so I always supported her. She never seemed like she had ill intent or malice. Because I was following Blaire for such a long time, I didn't realize how much she sought out cis approval until her video about Caitlin Bennett. Caitlin is an extreme far-right activist, borderline terrorist, that believes there should be zero gun laws, that people should be freely allowed to carry assault rifles on school campuses, that LGBT people are freaks who need asylum, and her calling trans women men in dresses and women with dicks is frankly the least problematic thing she's done, and that says a lot.
Should we put urinals in the women's restrooms here on campus to be more inclusive to women who have penises? You know, they stand up when they pee. If you were to walk into the women's restroom and you saw a woman with a penis there using a urinal, would you be concerned or would you accept it and be inclusive? What would you?
So you would think, okay, someone this extreme should be called out on, even by people who are conservative, that they'd have to call her out on something. And that's something that Blaire always says. Blaire, in her video, she always points back to the fact that, oh, the LGBT community is never calling out bad people. Even though her community is not calling out bad people within it either, so.
However, yo-yoing back to the other side, because two things can be true at once, the truth can be in the gray area despite how people feel about this, is that I also dislike how there are a lot of clips that go viral of her that are selectively edited to make her seem worse and or as the aggressor. There are plenty of instances where she is the aggressor, like I said, her harassing the kid. One that comes to mind is where she's talking with a woman and the topic is rape and abortion, and that's a popular topic she talks about. And the clip that went viral on Twitter that I saw was selectively edited to take out the horrendous things that the person she was debating was screaming at Caitlin.
You want to laugh at me like that?
I am laughing at you.
I hope somebody holds you down and rapes you.
So let's just keep it real. No matter how many hundreds of thousands of likes or millions of views were on that tweet,
And Blaire, especially, being that she's trans herself, you would think she would acknowledge some of the problematic things Caitlin Bennett said about people like her. But she didn't. And this is the point I realized Blaire stopped thinking for herself a while ago. Everything she says is based upon whether or not her far-right fan base supports her. I like watching political YouTubers. I watch both left-leaning and right-leaning ones because I want to hear both arguments. Even though Caitlin Bennett was the glaring red flag for me, looking back, that wasn't even the first one. Blaire would consistently allow herself to get misgendered by people in her quote-unquote community, and she wouldn't stand up for herself even in the slightest.
What did you think about sort of like the crazy reaction on Twitter to that?
I mean, it was overblown, obviously. I mean, my feeling on this has been pretty well known for a very long time, which is that pronouns are designed to differentiate between men and women, and that transgender women are not biological women, and that anything that attempts to overcome that argument is obfuscation rather than clarification. Like, you're a transgender woman, and so you're a transgender woman, but to me there is a big difference between a transgender woman and a biological woman, and if we're supposed to use these sort of generic pronouns to refer to men and women, then we ought to be using them at their most root level, which is the biological differences. Now, if you want to construct another set of pronouns and talk about whether we use those, that I'm up for. But if you want to talk about hijacking pronouns that have historically been used to describe male and female in biological sense, and then suggest that I am forced to use those pronouns to apply to people who do not fulfill those biological functions, then I have a bit of a problem.
Autopsy and why you did it and sort of where it's at the moment, and then we'll go from there.
Right. So I just want to start off because we just had a conversation off camera. She posted something that said my predictions that I talked about. I'm not comfortable using the she pronoun, not because it's not anything to be disrespectful. It's just that a lot of people that follow me don't know that Blaire is trans, and a lot of people that follow her maybe don't know me, vice versa. And I think that it betrays the audience when you make it sound like this is a petty catfight and there are two girls sitting across from a table, when in fact it is a grown man sitting across from a grown woman who has had a lot of things to say about me when I've never even met you or said negative comment about you. So I just want that to be very clear. Happy to, for the rest
Super
of this,
clear.
yeah, it should be
Super
known.
clear.
We're both adults, you know, you're a grown man.
No,
I'm a grown
we're
woman.
definitely adults. I just think it's interesting how you act like you're above the ad hominems and you're above attacking someone, when in reality, you and I both know that the situation is you're using those pronouns and you're saying what you're saying, calling me a grown man.
That's not an attack, that's a fact.
Let me finish that. You're doing that in a way to be passive aggressive and petty, but in a way that your audience doesn't actually read, because you do have the very hardcore conservative audience, and so they're not really going to read it as petty. Everyone else will.
No,
though.
I don't want them to think that this is a cat fight between two girls. It's not. I'm saying
That's
that
the
you are.
dumbest thing I've ever heard
No,
of it.
it's very important because
It really isn't, though. But we can move on, because it really isn't about how she addresses
me and
I really
biology
don't care
think you're a
about that.
man. I'm happy to call you
That's
a she for the
totally
rest
fine.
so that we can move on from the pronoun thing.
Hey guys, sorry if the audio sounds a little different. My loud ass floor mates made my audio insalvageable, so now I'm going to re-record, okay? Blaire would consistently allow herself to get misgendered by people in her community, and she wouldn't stand up for herself even in the slightest. There is no line someone would cross that would make her say, hey, that was transphobic. And speaking of Candace Owens, since I'm showing a clip of her, she's another person like Blaire. If Candace Owens is the only black political person you can agree with, that's a problem. Just like Blaire, I find that she can have good points that I agree with sometimes, but maybe like only 10%. Just like Blaire, Candace only believes in what she's told to. She thinks it's perfectly fine to call the police on an innocent black person. She doesn't believe racism exists at all, and she outright refuses to acknowledge climate change in any capacity, despite how dumb it makes her look.
Different pieces of the country, I'm learning how ignorant I was. And that's the best thing in the entire world.
Way?
Just, I fell victim to the idea that it was progress. We have to care about the environment. It was progress. And it's no, we've been losing. America has been losing. And Donald Trump understood that in a way that I didn't. And I
don't
thought,
think we have to care about the environment? What do you,
no, not even a little bit.
not even a little bit?
No. Okay, let me clarify this. I don't throw trash on the ground. I'm not saying we need to trash the environment. But do I believe in climate change? No.
You don't believe in climate change?
Well, I think the climate always changes, I guess is what I should say. Do I believe that this is an issue that is being, that is global warming, which they've changed conveniently. They got rid of the word once scientists started disproving it. Now they only say climate change. No, I think that was just a way to extract dollars from Americans.
I want to be clear that my problem with these people is not that they have opinions that are different from the norm. It's fine to be a free thinker, but they don't actually represent free thinking. People like this allows other people to continue being ignorant and unresponsive to new ideas that challenge their current worldview. It allows them to say, I'm not racist, transphobic, or sexist because they agree with me. It effectively shields them from deserved criticism. And that's why people like this quickly gain so much notoriety in far-right spaces. These kinds of people validate the arguments while diminishing the bigotry underneath. If the only trans YouTuber you watch is Blaire White or Blaire White's best friend, you're going to need to do some self-reflecting. Always be open to new perspectives, even if they challenge yours, and don't seek someone out on the basis that it's most aligned with what you currently believe. That's all this video is. Don't forget to like and subscribe.